Have you ever felt a strange pull towards something you can't quite explain? Maybe it's a recurring dream, an unexplained feeling, or even a fascination with certain symbols. What if I told you that these experiences are not just random occurrences, but could be clues to something much deeper? Today, we're diving into the captivating world of Carl Jung and his warnings about the hidden dangers lurking in our unconscious mind. Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our unconscious holds secrets that can shape our lives in ways we may not even recognize. So, stay tuned as we explore the hidden dangers that nobody sees and how they might be impacting you right now. Here's what we'll cover in this video. Who is Carl Jung? A brief introduction to the man behind the theories. The unconscious mind, understanding what it is and why it matters. The shadow self, exploring the part of us that we often ignore. The dangers of ignoring the unconscious. What happens when we don't pay attention? How to integrate the shadow. Practical steps to embrace your hidden self. Conclusion: reflecting on Jung's wisdom and its relevance today. Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. Unlike his mentor Sigmund Freud, who emphasized sexuality as a primary influence on human behavior, Jung focused on the importance of the unconscious mind and its profound effect on our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Born in 1875 in Kesswil, Switzerland, Jung grew up in a religious household where his father was a pastor. This early exposure to spirituality, mythology, and religion would later deeply influence his psychological theories. Jung studied medicine at the University of Basel and specialized in psychiatry. He began his career at the Burgholzli Psychiatric Hospital in Zurich under Eugen Bleuler, where he developed his word association test, a groundbreaking method that revealed unconscious complexes. Jung's relationship with Sigmund Freud began in 1906 when Jung defended Freud's psychoanalytic theories. They became close collaborators, with Freud considering Jung his intellectual heir. However, their relationship fractured around 1913 due to fundamental theoretical differences. While Freud focused on sexuality and childhood experiences, Jung believed in a broader, more spiritual understanding of the psyche. This break was painful but necessary for Jung to develop his own unique psychological framework. After the split, Jung experienced what he called his confrontation with the unconscious, a period of intense psychological turmoil where he actively explored his own dreams, visions, and fantasies. During this transformative period from 1913 to 1919, Jung kept what he called the Red Book, a personal journal filled with elaborate illustrations and reflections on his inner experiences. This wasn't published until 2009, decades after his death, revealing the depth of his personal psychological exploration. Jung traveled extensively throughout his life, visiting Africa, India, and Native American pueblos in New Mexico. These journeys weren't mere tourism, they were research expeditions that informed his understanding of universal psychological patterns across cultures. He discovered that despite vast cultural differences, certain symbols, myths, and psychological themes appeared repeatedly. This observation led to one of his most revolutionary concepts, the collective unconscious. Jung believed that beyond our personal unconscious, which contains our individual forgotten memories and repressed experiences, there exists a deeper layer shared by all humanity. This collective unconscious contains archetypes, universal inherited patterns of thought and behavior that manifest across all human cultures. These archetypes include figures like the mother, the hero, the wise old man, and the shadow. They appear in our myths, fairy tales, religious symbolism, and dreams. Jung's concept of archetypes explains why certain stories resonate universally, why the hero's journey appears in Greek mythology, Buddhist texts, and modern films alike. Now, let's dive deeper into understanding the unconscious mind itself. The unconscious mind is like an iceberg. The tip is what we consciously recognize, while the vast majority lies beneath the surface. Jung argued that our unconscious is rich with memories, instincts, and experiences that we often ignore or repress. Think of it this way. Your conscious mind is what you're aware of right now, reading these words, feeling the temperature around you, thinking your current thoughts. But beneath this awareness lies an enormous realm of mental activity. Your unconscious processes sensory information, stores memories from your entire life, holds emotional reactions you haven't fully processed, and contains inherited psychological patterns from our ancestors. But why does the unconscious matter? Well, it shapes our perceptions, guides our decisions, and can even manifest in unexpected ways, like through dreams or symbols. Jung believed that understanding this part of ourselves is crucial for personal growth and well-being. Consider how you make decisions. You might think you're being purely rational, but research in modern neuroscience confirms Jung's intuition. Most of our decision-making happens unconsciously. Your brain processes millions of bits of information, filters them through your past experiences and emotional associations, and presents you with what feels like a conscious choice. But the heavy lifting happened beneath your awareness. The unconscious also influences your relationships. Ever wondered why you're attracted to certain people or why you react strongly to specific behaviors? Often, these patterns originate in your unconscious. You might be drawn to partners who recreate unresolved dynamics from your childhood. Or you might react to criticism in ways that reflect deep-seated insecurities you've never consciously examined. Dreams are perhaps the most direct window into the unconscious. Unlike Freud, who believed dreams primarily expressed wish fulfillment, Jung saw them as compensatory messages from the unconscious. When your conscious attitude becomes too one-sided, your unconscious produces dreams that present the opposite perspective, seeking to balance your psyche. For example, someone who presents a perfect, always positive persona to the world might have violent or distressing dreams. These aren't predictions or literal desires, they're the unconscious attempting to integrate the shadow aspects that the conscious mind refuses to acknowledge. Jung developed a sophisticated method of dream analysis that looked at symbols not just for their personal meaning, but also for their archetypal significance. A snake in your dream might relate to a specific fear from your childhood, but it also connects to the universal symbolism of snakes across human cultures, representing transformation, healing, danger, or wisdom, depending on the context. Now, let's talk about one of Jung's most compelling and personally challenging concepts, the shadow self. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we suppress, deny, or refuse to acknowledge, traits that society deems undesirable or unacceptable. Jung described the shadow as the person you would rather not be. It contains all the qualities you've rejected about yourself, the impulses you've learned to hide, and the aspects of your personality that don't fit your self-image. Here's the crucial insight. The shadow isn't necessarily evil or bad. It simply contains what you've deemed unacceptable based on your upbringing, culture, and personal values. For someone raised to be always polite and agreeable, their shadow might contain assertiveness and anger. For someone who prides themselves on rationality, the shadow might hold emotional vulnerability and spontaneity. Imagine a person who is always cheerful and positive, but harbors feelings of anger or jealousy. These emotions become part of their shadow, elements they're not willing to confront. Jung believed that acknowledging our shadow is vital for achieving wholeness and authenticity. The problem with the shadow isn't its existence. Everyone has one, but what happens when we refuse to acknowledge it? Carl Jung famously stated, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." When we fail to recognize our shadow, it doesn't disappear, it gains power. The shadow operates through psychological projection. We tend to see our unacknowledged shadow qualities in other people and react to them with disproportionate emotion. If you find yourself having an intense negative reaction to someone, they really get under your skin in a way you can't fully explain, there's a good chance you're encountering your own shadow projected onto them. Studies suggest that unresolved conflicts and unacknowledged feelings can lead to chronic stress and various health problems. The mind-body connection that Jung intuitively understood is now well documented in psychosomatic medicine. Repressed emotions don't simply vanish, they often convert into physical symptoms. Chronic pain, digestive issues, headaches, and fatigue can all have psychological components rooted in the unconscious. In extreme cases, individuals might find themselves caught in cycles of self-sabotage, repeating behaviors that undermine their happiness and success. This is the unconscious at work, creating patterns that feel beyond our control. Someone might repeatedly sabotage relationships just as they're getting serious, or consistently fail at the brink of professional success. These patterns often originate from unconscious beliefs formed in childhood or from shadow material that's incompatible with conscious goals. Jung also warned about the danger of psychological inflation when the ego identifies with archetypal content from the collective unconscious and becomes grandiose. This can happen when someone believes they're a chosen savior, a uniquely enlightened guru, or possesses special destiny that sets them above others. This inflation is actually a defense against confronting the shadow and represents a dangerous disconnection from reality. Another danger of ignoring the unconscious is the loss of creativity and vitality. Jung believed that creative energy flows from the unconscious. When we're cut off from this source through excessive rationalism or rigid ego control, life becomes flat and meaningless. This can manifest as what Jung called the midlife crisis, a period when the values and goals that motivated the first half of life no longer satisfy and the unconscious demands attention. Understanding and integrating the shadow can be a painful journey, but it's also one of the most liberating. Jung emphasized that embracing our darker aspects allows us to reclaim lost energy. Every quality we've repressed requires psychological energy to keep hidden. When we integrate these aspects, that energy becomes available for creativity. A celebrative living. So, how do we begin to integrate our shadow and address the hidden dangers within us? Here are some practical steps you can take. Step 1. Self-reflection. Start a journal where you can freely express your thoughts and feelings without censoring yourself. Write honestly about moments when you felt anger, jealousy, sadness, or any emotion you typically suppress. What triggered these emotions? What were you thinking? What did you want to do but didn't? Understanding the root of these reactions can help you recognize your shadow. Be curious rather than judgmental. When you notice a strong reaction to someone or something, ask yourself, what does this reveal about me? This doesn't mean you're wrong about the situation, it means you're using it as information about your inner world. Pay attention to your dreams and recurring patterns. If you keep dreaming about being chased, what might you be running from in your waking life? If you repeatedly find yourself in similar conflicts despite different people and circumstances, what role might you be unconsciously playing? Step 2. Dream analysis. Keep a dream journal by your bed and record your dreams immediately upon waking, before the rational mind edits them. Jung believed that dreams are a direct pathway to the unconscious, offering compensatory perspectives to balance our conscious attitudes. Don't just record the dream. Note your feelings during the dream and upon waking. Emotions often carry the most important information. Look for recurring symbols, characters, and themes across your dreams. These often point to important unconscious content seeking integration. When analyzing dreams, consider both personal and archetypal meanings. That threatening figure might represent your critical father, but it might also connect to archetypal shadow material shared across humanity. Jung recommended a technique called active imagination, where you continue the dream while awake, dialoguing with dream figures and allowing the unconscious narrative to unfold. Step 3. Mindfulness and meditation. Practice mindfulness to cultivate awareness of your thoughts and feelings in the present moment without judgment. This can help you become more attuned to your inner self and the aspects you may be overlooking. Meditation creates space between stimulus and response, allowing you to observe your unconscious reactions rather than being controlled by them. When you notice yourself judging someone harshly, pause and breathe. What quality are they displaying that you've rejected in yourself? Simple mindfulness practices like body scanning can help you notice where you hold tension and emotion physically. Jung believed in what he called active imagination, a meditative state where you allow unconscious content to emerge through visualization, dialogue, or creative expression while maintaining enough consciousness to engage with it intentionally. This differs from passive daydreaming because you're actively participating in the unconscious material rather than just observing it. Step 4. Creative expression. Engage in creative activities like painting, writing, dancing, or music without focusing on the end product or whether it's good. These forms of expression can give voice to your unconscious and help you process emotions that may be difficult to articulate. Jung himself was a prolific artist, creating mandalas and symbolic paintings to express his inner experiences. He found that creative expression often bypasses the rational mind's censorship, allowing unconscious material to emerge more freely. You don't need to be talented or artistic to benefit from creative expression. The act itself, moving paint on canvas, moving your body to music, shaping clay with your hands, engages the unconscious in ways that purely verbal or cognitive approaches cannot. Many people find that when they allow themselves to create without judgment, surprising images and themes emerge that reflect their inner state. These creative products can then be reflected upon, offering insights into shadow material and unconscious concerns. Step 5. Seek professional help. Consider therapy, especially with a Jungian analyst or depth psychologist who understands these concepts. They can help guide you through the process of integrating your shadow and working through unconscious conflicts. Jungian analysis typically involves in-depth exploration of dreams, active imagination, and the transference relationship between analyst and client. The therapeutic relationship itself becomes a container where unconscious material can safely emerge and be processed. A skilled therapist can help you recognize patterns you can't see yourself and provide support during difficult phases of integration. They can also help differentiate between neurotic symptoms that need healing and genuine unconscious messages that need acknowledgement. It's important to note that shadow integration isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process. As you grow and your life circumstances change, new shadow material may emerge. What you've integrated at 30 may need to be revisited at 50. Many have found that by confronting their shadows, they've developed greater self-acceptance, resilience, and meaningful connections with others. When you acknowledge your own capacity for darkness, you become more compassionate toward others' struggles. When you integrate your assertiveness or vulnerability, you can show up more authentically in relationships. The paradox Jung identified is that wholeness comes not from being perfect, but from being complete, which means acknowledging all aspects of yourself, light and shadow together. By integrating the shadow, you become more human, not less. You gain access to energies and qualities that were previously unavailable to you. The anger you suppressed might become healthy assertiveness. The vulnerability you denied might become genuine intimacy. The darkness you feared might become depth of character. In closing, Carl Jung's insights into the unconscious mind and the shadow self serve as crucial reminders of the complex nature of human psychology. The hidden dangers that lurk within us can be daunting, but they also hold the potential for profound personal transformation. By acknowledging and integrating these aspects of ourselves, we can move towards a more authentic and fulfilling life. Remember, it's not about erasing our shadows, but understanding and embracing them. Jung saw this process of individuation, becoming your true self, as the primary task of the second half of life. The first half is typically spent building an ego, establishing a place in the world, and developing a persona that functions in society. The second half requires turning inward, confronting what you've left behind, and integrating the rejected parts to achieve psychological wholeness. This journey requires courage. It means facing aspects of yourself you've spent years avoiding. It means acknowledging that you're capable of feelings and actions you've condemned in others. It means accepting that you're more complex, more contradictory, and more mysterious than your ego would like to believe. But the rewards are immense. People who undertake this work often report feeling more alive, more creative, and more deeply connected to themselves and others. They develop what Jung called psychological resilience, the ability to face life's challenges without being overwhelmed because they've already faced their inner challenges. Jung's work remains profoundly relevant in our modern world. We live in an age that often values image over substance, where social media encourages us to present curated versions of ourselves that deny our full humanity. The pressure to maintain a perfect persona has never been greater, which means our collective shadow grows denser and more dangerous. We see this in the polarization of our politics, where each side projects its shadow onto the other, making dialogue impossible. We see it in the mental health crisis affecting people of all ages, as the gap between authentic self and presented persona creates unbearable internal tension. We see it in our environmental crisis, where humanity's collective shadow of destructive greed and short-term thinking threatens our survival. Jung believed that the psychological work of individuals contributes to the healing of the collective. When you integrate your shadow, you're not just helping yourself, you're reducing the amount of unconscious projection and darkness in the world. You become less likely to scapegoat others, more able to see nuance and complexity, and more capable of genuine relationship. The world needs people who have done this inner work now more than ever. We need leaders who've confronted their shadows and won't project them onto foreign nations or minority groups. We need individuals who can hold complexity and ambiguity without resorting to simplistic thinking. We need humans who've integrated enough of their unconscious to make conscious choices rather than being driven by unseen forces. Jung's concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that can't be explained by causality, also points to how working with the unconscious connects us to something larger. When you're aligned with your deeper self, life often seems to respond with unexpected opportunities, meetings, and events that support your journey. Many people report that as they engage with their unconscious through dreams and active imagination, they begin noticing meaningful patterns and connections in their external life. If you've enjoyed this exploration of Jung's warnings and feel called to engage more deeply with your unconscious, consider beginning with small, consistent practices. Set aside 10 minutes each morning to record your dreams. Spend a few minutes in meditation each day, simply observing your thoughts and feelings. Pick up a pen or paintbrush and create without judgment. Notice when you're having strong reactions and ask yourself what they're revealing. This work doesn't require dramatic gestures or complete life upheaval. It begins with simple attention, honest self-observation, and willingness to question your assumptions about who you are. The unconscious has been patiently waiting for your attention all along. It's been sending messages through your dreams, your slip-ups, your inexplicable moods, and your projections. It will continue sending messages whether you pay attention or not. Will you listen? Will you have the courage to turn inward and meet the aspects of yourself you've been avoiding? Will you undertake the hero's journey that leads not to external conquest, but to internal integration? Jung's greatest gift was showing us that this journey, while challenging, leads to something invaluable, becoming who you truly are rather than who you think you should be. In a world full of external noise and demands, this internal work of self-discovery and integration might be the most revolutionary act possible. Thank you for taking this journey into the depths of the human psyche with us today. If you found value in exploring Carl Jung's warnings about the hidden dangers of the unconscious mind, please give this video a thumbs up so others can discover this vital information. Share your thoughts, experiences, or questions in the comments below. I read every comment, and often they spark ideas for future videos. And if you want to continue exploring psychology, philosophy, and the art of living consciously, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss new content. Remember, the journey to wholeness begins with a single step, acknowledging that there's more to you than meets the eye. Your unconscious is not your enemy. It's an unexplored territory full of potential, creativity, and power waiting to be integrated. Jung once said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Take back your power by turning inward. The shadow work is not easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the depths of your mind. The answers you seek are not out there. They've been within you all along, waiting for you to have the courage to look.